This is a special edition of the Mike Gallagher Show, Coronavirus in America.
We're using the full power of the federal government to defeat the virus, and that's what we've been doing.
For a while, life is not going to be the way it used to be in the United States.
As we face this national emergency pandemic, now's the time for knowledge and clarity. And this is the place to get it.
We're going into a full crisis footing. This is a wartime dynamic. We have to think about helping each other in different ways.
The president made very decisive decisions quickly.
2020 is definitely going to be one for the history books. And as we take it all in, we know that we'll get through this together. We're America. And now, here's Mike.
This is going to sound a little crude, but Democrats really never, ever learn, do they? You know, when President Trump, as this thing started to impact the world, when the president on January 31st issued the proclamation on suspension of entry as immigrants and non-immigrants of persons who pose a risk of transmitting 2019 novel coronavirus, blocking most travel from China, Joe Biden said, this is no time for Trump's record of hysteria and xenophobia, hysterical xenophobia, and fear-mongering. A few months later, Biden reversed course, realized he was wrong, and said he supported the China travel ban, as most Democrats do now. But at the time, remember, he was Orange Man Bad, Mr. Xenophobe. Well, last night, the president announced he's going to sign an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration into the United States, a drastic escalation of his efforts to try to battle coronavirus and also try to preserve American jobs. We've got 22 plus million people out of work. It's a bitter pill to swallow to think that an illegal could take somebody's job. Somebody could immigrate here to the United States, could come into the U.S., and take jobs from Americans who are desperately trying to return to work at some point. And immediately, what's the rallying cry from the other side? Of course, he's xenophobic. Congressman Don Beyer from Virginia said Trump was looking for someone to blame for his own failure. This is just xenophobic scapegoating. Kamala Harris said he's shamelessly politicizing the pandemic to double down on his anti-immigrant agenda. In other words, they're saying the same kind of thing now that they said about his China travel ban on January 31st. And then it turned out to be correct. So are they going to walk this back too? And when they walk it back, will the media cover it? If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around, does it make a sound? Have you noticed how the mainstream media won't cover any of the walkbacks, any of the corrections? How many stories have you seen about nobody in America needing a ventilator? How many stories have you seen in the mainstream media about nobody in New York needing a ventilator? We were told that this was going to be hell on earth. People are going to have to be 8 people to a ventilator. They were going to have to rev up, handmade kits to try use CPAP machines to double. We don't have enough ventilators. People are going to be dying in the halls. It's going to be mayhem. It never happened. President Trump was right. They were correct. There was enough in the stockpile. And thankfully, they didn't have enough people that the demand exceeded the supply. How many stories have you seen in the New York Times correcting that hysteria? Speaking of hysteria, there's an agenda here. And you've got to remember the bad faith agenda that many people have. Had a great exchange yesterday with a caller named Jerry about these states reopening because, frankly, it didn't even occur to me that people intended to protest sort of shoulder to shoulder without masks on. I thought people were wanting to protest using social distancing. But listen, Jerry was saying that's not what it's about. We want to be out there. We want to let our voices be heard. And I get it. I do understand it. And I told Jerry that. I told you that yesterday. While I want everybody to be safe, I don't care what your age is. I don't care where you're from. I want you to be safe, but I also have I think, a deeply abiding understanding of people who are at the end of their rope. Last night, Don Lemon on CNN railing against the people who are at the end of their rope. But he doesn't see it that way. He just sees them as a bunch of morons. He sees people who are out protesting as just a bunch of yahoos and hicks and rubes. Of course, these are these southern states, that the elitists will state. Here's Don Lemon last night on CNN. I want you to consider what he said.
Those people are out there complaining because they don't have haircuts? Who the hell do you think you are? And if you're so upset about it, you should be mad at the president because he's the one that's supposed to help your small businesses. I understand that you're hurting. I understand that people are hurting. Yes, a lot of people are hurting. But there are people who are frontline workers who have to get out there. I did the color of COVID this weekend. Those people are at the grocery stores who didn't expect to have their lives be placed in danger because they have to work at the grocery store. They're driving buses, and you're protesting against, you're slapping the faces of people who are the healthcare workers who put their lives on the line every day because you want a haircut, you want to go play golf, you're concerned about, of course you're concerned about your business. Tell the president that. And you're out there with guns, with weapons strapped to your chest, saying, "Oh, you want to get you're fighting against the people who are telling you to stay at home, trying to save your lives. You're upset with those people. In the meantime, there are people who are keeping your cities going, keeping your loved ones alive, and you want to get a haircut? Who the hell do you think you are? What is wrong with people? I don't understand what is wrong."
Lemon got a net worth reportedly of $10 million, and he earns $4 million a year reportedly to host that show on CNN. It's real easy to sit there without a care in the world financially and say to people who are broke, who've gone through their life savings, who don't know where they're going to get their next meal, who don't know what they're going to tell their children, who don't have a job to return to, whose careers and lives were utterly destroyed. It's real easy when you make $4 million a year. That's $1 million a quarter. Every 3 weeks, the guy gets $1 million. Every 3 months, rather, the guy gets $1 million to sit on TV. And listen, I don't begrudge people who make a lot of money. Rachel Maddow was doing the same thing last night. I watched 10 minutes of her. She reportedly earns $7 million a year, and she's fine. That's hard to listen to, but it does show you how out of touch these folks are. And honest to goodness, I don't even think it's an inadvertent disconnect. There's an agenda here. I truly, and listen, I'm going to ask you directly, to the Don Lemons and the Rachel Maddows of the world who are mocking and railing and screeching and insulting the protesters and the states like Georgia and South Carolina and Tennessee that want to open this weekend. Friday, it looks like barbershops. And you heard him. You want to get a haircut? Well, no, there are actually barbers who are broke, who have no job, who cannot pay the bills anymore and have nowhere to turn. Let's go back to the reopening argument. It's a very difficult issue. Nobody should minimize it. Nobody should take it lightly. It has got to be one of the most agonizing decisions that anybody can make. Do you honestly think that we're not all painfully aware of the risks that are going to occur? One of the things Rachel Maddow said last night in the 15 minutes that I could stand it to watch, she said, conservative media says everything is A-OK and there's not a thing to worry about. And that's a damnable lie, because nobody that I know of in conservative media is saying there's not a single thing to worry about and everything's A-OK. We know how difficult this is. But we hear from people every day in a way that maybe Rachel Maddow and Don Lemon don't. I get the emails and the text messages from people who are saying, I got nowhere to go. I'm at the end of my rope. I'm finished here. I've got no money. I have no income. I have no way to pay the bills. I have no food for my family. That's not, I want to go get a haircut, Don Lemon. That's called survival. That's called the difference, literally, between life and death. So let me just put the question out to you here as we kick things off on this Tuesday, April the 21st, here in the ReliefFactor.com studio. To those people who think that Governor Kemp and Tennessee's governor and Governor McMaster in South Carolina are acting prematurely, when would you start? You tell me, because I don't have the answer. I don't know. And I pray that we're making the right decision as we start to slowly reopen state by state. But you tell me when you think states should start to reopen. I am all ears.